Hey everyone, my name's Trevor Daly with MagMod. Hey, thanks for joining me for another How I Shot It. Today, I got Jennifer and Joe Mackey, guys. Hey, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having us today, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I'm going to bring up a whole camera so we can see all of you guys. And we got the pup here. What's this dog's name right here?
Charlie.
Charlie, yes.
Charlie. And then you have two more, is that right?
Yeah, Lulu and Missy. They all wiener dogs. They're all pretty gangster, but no, they would be yapping like crazy if we didn't.
Yeah,
have them,
so just if you hear them, that's why. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. No, that's awesome. Well, I'm glad Charlie can join us, and I'm looking forward to doing this chat with you guys because I love you guys' work. I absolutely am mesmerized by it, and you guys are constantly putting out amazing stuff. In fact, we feature a lot of it on Instagram because you guys are so kind in sharing it with us. Before we get into your photos, can you tell everyone how would you describe your style of photography? And in fact, maybe while you do that, I'm actually going to bring up your Instagram page as well, so people can see it. But how would you describe it?
Pretty timeless and true to color. I mean, we do a fair amount of more bold and vivid images as well with a lot of our MagMod products. But for the most part, we try to keep just sort of that timeless look. So, you're looking back 20 years from now, it's still going to have rich color. It's going to be, and so there are times we'll go a bit more dramatic, but for the most part, we use a lot of our OCF work just to clean an image up and,
or even correct the color with it. So in certain lighting situations, we're like, oh yeah, we're going to use color gels and stuff to make it look as true to color as possible.
Yeah.
And a lot of couples appreciate it still, believe it or not, even though it is the fad to have, different filters on everything, but we're appreciative that couples still love it. So.
I'm a huge fan of it. And I think you nailed it when you said it's just this timeless look where it's like, again, 30, 40 years from now, you can look at those photos and say, like, I know that it wasn't shot in 2020 or 2023, right? like in other words, it seems like it could be at any time, and your colors and everything are so pretty. In fact, I want to bring up your website as well. Well, first off, I gotta say, I mean, look at these people, us, Married at First Sight, for all those Married at First Sight fans out there. So, and I was watching your video here as well. I'd definitely encourage people to go check that out. I think you guys have it on the front page of your Asheville. Yeah, right here. Yeah. Super fun video.
Thank you.
The one thing that I just want to mention as well is you guys do a lot of these like adventure type sessions where you're like in the mountains, like in Jackson Hole and all these different places. How do you guys manage that? Like as far as like going between, two different places. Are you just living part of your life in one place and part in the other? Is that kind of how you're doing it?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a bit of a double life. We it was something we never actually intended on doing. We just sort of fell into it. We renewed our vows out at Jackson Hole in 2020.
Yep.
And then we fell in love with it. Our buddy Jesse sort of guided this entire road trip. We went to Rocky Mountain National Park, Arches, Canyonlands, all these beautiful places. And he was like, we're going to finish in Wyoming. And I'm like, Wyoming?
Yeah, we're like, what?
Desert and tumbleweeds? What are we going to see? And in eastern Wyoming, that's pretty accurate. But we ended up out in the Grand Teton area. As luck would have it, one of our clients who we had for North Carolina, he worked at an airline and he wanted us to do his engagement out west. And he's like, hey, I'll get you guys free tickets. So before you know it, we literally did this massive road trip and went back a week later.
So we started lining up stuff and then
it just took off. Cool.
Yeah, we live here during the summer months when it's not snowy, and we travel back, of course, for different times of year for sessions and weddings. But and then we spend the rest in North Carolina, so two different kinds of mountains.
That's awesome, you guys. Well, yeah, guys, be sure if you're watching this, be sure to go check them out. Go give them a follow. They actually have two Instagram accounts. One of them is it's JCM Photography Asheville, right? Yeah. And then JCM Photography Jackson Hole. And man, you guys, it's hard to already keep and manage one Instagram account. I'm impressed you really do it, on two different ones. So my hat's off to you. So
divide and conquer.
That's awesome. Well, cool deal. Well, guys, I am excited to share your photos with everybody. So if it's okay with you, can we jump right in?
Heck yeah, man.
Excellent. Let's do it. So this first shot, I'm excited because this is probably, I'm not going to say probably, this is the first shot that we're going to feature on How I Shot It using the brand new XL product. So tell us about this one here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So typical golden light session, golden hour session. It was soft light, but we were actually starting to get some pretty good cloud in the sky with a little bit of backlight from the sun. So we were like, holy cow, like I think if we add a little drama to the sky by underexposing and then add a little flash to the front and the back, sort of just draw your eye in and separate the couple from those darker mountains. And so we backlit them with a MagSphere and a half CTO just to get sort of that warm look behind them and on the ground. And then we used the new MagMod XL products. We used the MagSphere XL, we used the MagGrid XL, and then we also used the half CTB on the front light. So all that to make this one image. But basically, we just like the way it turned out. And we use a lot of custom white balance in camera, and then we use the cooling gels so that we can maintain sort of that warm look in camera, because we like to be able to show our clients in the moment, like, hey, look at this. And this couple actually, it blew their mind. They were like, oh my God, it doesn't even look like that. How'd you guys do that? So it was cool.
I love that as well. It's one of my favorite things, and it's so it seems counterintuitive to think to use a blue gel on light and get that warmth, but if you're out there and you haven't tried that yet, give that a try. Put a blue half CTB on it or full CTB, and then warm up your camera. And then sometimes you even have to warm it up in Lightroom. Do you remember kind of what your white balance was on this? Like, did you have to push it in camera? Do you have to go any further in Lightroom at all with it?
So I mean, I think it was pretty close to actually in camera, because we used the custom white balance using like a gray card. So it was probably
usually in this area, because we shoot at this spot a lot about the same time.
It gets very, very blue. So 10,000 Kelvin's not warm enough.
Yeah, it usually pushes it to about 15 to 20,000 Kelvin in camera.
Wow. So do you guys, the way you do it then, do you actually, are you doing where you're putting over the lens, taking a picture, and then doing the custom white balance? Or how are you doing the custom white balance?
Yeah, so with Canon, they allow you to do in camera. So what we do is we have gray cards. We take a picture of the gray card, adjust it actually in camera, then shoot the photo, and then we go ahead and add in the blue gel to balance it out with them. Because if we were just using straight no color, they would look orange. But so awesome. Yeah, that's why we like to have as least amount of editing as possible in the back end.
Yes.
Just being honest. So, and it's nice to see it look like, hey, this is what it's going to look like, or close. So
I think you guys are the first photographers I've interviewed in 130 plus episodes that use a gray card, which I love. Because I remember using gray cards back in film photography, right?
Yep.
But, that's awesome. So are you guys using like a big one then? Like a pretty decent size one? No? Just a small one?
It's like a credit card.
Little pocket size one's like the size of a credit card.
And we lose a lot of them.
They, especially in a lot of the backlit situations or the blue hour situations, I mean, just one click. And even if we don't do it in camera, if we're in a rush, you just got that gray card at Lightroom, and then you click on it, and then boom, it just warms everything up really nicely. So
that's cool, you guys.
Makes our life easier. So we love it.
So I think that's...
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Jennifer.
Oh, you're fine. I was just saying, I think that's why too, because we're very true to color. Like, it really matters a lot to us to like have that perfect white balance. Like Bruce says, if we didn't have to worry about that, it probably wouldn't be as big of a deal to use a gray card. But
that's awesome. So on this shot, what now? I feel stupid even asking, but those mountains behind them. Is that the Tetons?
Yep. One of the particular angles. So one of the cool things about like being in this area, you could be a mile down the road and the shape of the mountains is completely different. Yep. So oftentimes too, like there's spots where the sun sets at like 7:30 behind the mountains, and then there's spots where the sun doesn't set till 9 o'clock. So kind of knowing where to go is super helpful on a lot of these sessions.
Yeah, I love it. Now, one thing that I think and people are going to see this when they see a lot of your photographs, they're going to see that you guys do a really good job balancing flash and ambient. Where even though this shot, it's dramatic because the flash is obviously making them stand out, it doesn't look overly flashy, if that makes sense. Like it looks like they're balanced with the ambient. And I think some of the other shots there, even going to see that even more, where it just looks like this beautiful sunset, and it almost, you can hardly even tell a flash was used sometimes in the shots. Is there a tip that you guys, like, is there something that you guys typically do in order to kind of accomplish that, to kind of make it so it doesn't look so dramatic?
Yeah, we
I'll let you go ahead.
we both do it. So like we pretty much try to keep the ambient as like light as possible, and then use usually a very low flash power to create these looks. Because our goal is we don't want to black out the mountains, because the couple wants to see the texture. They want to see like, hey, this is where I was. They don't want to see black mountains. Sometimes we will for like a certain shot, or the sky is like amazing. But we just like to preserve our, the scenery, because a lot of times we're doing those big wow, like I guess
environmental portraits.
Environmental portraits. Yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And so I think the key to that then is if somebody were watching this and they're brand new to Flash, don't shoot on ETTL, like shoot on manual, so you can actually dial in your flash powers and make sure that you're using a low flash power. Would that be correct?
Yes, we never shoot on ETTL. Once we went manual, we never went back, because you can do so much more if you just go manual.
And then I love how you're saying shoot on low flash power, so that you're just getting just a little pop of light, but then obviously balancing your exposure inside your camera. So super cool stuff, you guys. I absolutely love that.
Go ahead. Sorry, man.
No, please go, Joe.
I was gonna say, with that new with the MagSphere XL and the XL grid, for these shots. So we always, I know a lot of people that follow the community love the grid sphere combo, as do we. But the one small limitation we would sometimes find with it is if we did full body shots, sometimes the spread wouldn't be quite enough. So like we'd end up having to brush like their shin down to get a full thing of light.
But this thing is
money. Yes.
It's soft all the way down, and it's like very evenly lit, and we can use our 8200s with it, which is nice, and have them like two at one time too, for these like hard lighting situations. Where we couldn't use spheres before grids in that situation.
I love that. So now you guys are using the XL products with the 8200s, is that correct? I love it. And so you're basically putting the grid on top of the mag ring and kind of using that's cool, you guys. Very
were like a lot of people used to. We'd like stick two spears on there and try to make them fit, and they'd be popping off. But so we love the new XL line, because it's like the perfect hybrid for, especially with the adventure stuff we do. Sometimes one flash power just ain't enough, but sometimes you don't want to hike up
with a box.
A mountain 3 miles with a box, so it's a little easier.
That's cool. Very cool. Good stuff, you guys. Well, I absolutely love that shot. It's such a beautiful one, and I love those, the mountains and everything behind them. And like I said, it's just a perfect balance. So good stuff. Well, let's jump on to this next shot. Tell us, this one kind of, it's again, you got the mountains, you got this gorgeous sky, you got this beautiful light, but it all just kind of balances where you can see a little bit of the foreground and stuff. Insanely beautiful. Tell us about it, you guys.
Thanks.
Yeah, so this spot, it was funny. It's just an in-between passing spot on one of the roads that takes us to two of the popular spots. And we kept seeing it. And this couple told us, they were like, hey, if you guys have any special spots or anything, we love your work, anything you've been experimenting on, like, feel free to try it on. We're like, oh, cool. On that note. So the sky was just coming in, and it looked insane. And so we did a similar setup on this. We used a MagSphere with a half CTB and just kind of dialed in our coloring camera. And Jenny,
this is actually on a hillside, so I had to sit on top of the truck and shoot it. And then it was so far away, like my trigger was barely making it go off. But we were able to make it happen, which it was just so cool to, get that vast feel and make the mountains feel like they're, I don't know, a lot bigger than where they were, a couple.
So did you use a long lens then? Is that like we're using shooting with a 200 or something to kind of pull that compression in?
Yeah, the 200. And I wanted to keep it. I don't think I went all the way to 200 because I still wanted to keep it some of the landscape in there. But it was, it was pretty close to 200 though. It was far.
In order to get something that wide with shooting with a long lens, it certainly, you had to be back. Gosh, were you back 100 yards? Would you say?
Oh, there more. Because there's a road right below this hill, and the hill wasn't doesn't end right there. There was a field before it. So, and we were on the road.
It was probably a 2 or 3 minute hike to get them up that hill to where they are. So it was a pretty good little distance from where we parked.
Gotcha.
That's why they're so small, obviously.
I love it. I love those small people, big landscape shots. For me, I'm always man, do you guys, and this is probably a stupid question, but I guess, Joe, you probably walk with them because you're lighting them up, right?
Yeah, and I explained to them, and most of the people, we showcase a lot of shots like this in our portfolio. So they end up coming to us because they see a shot or two like this, and they're like, wow, that's, we're coming out here to elope or have our engagement because we love the environment. We don't just want everything close up. So
we do a mix though. So we always tell couples like, no, this is not all we do.
Yeah.
Like where you look like a little person. We take close-ups too, but we like to give them these type of shots too, to give them a wow. So
I love it. It's such a beautiful image. So cool. And so just to recap, then you use the MagSphere with the half CTB. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's probably our most popular combo we use. We like that warm look. Like you said, it seems counterintuitive to use the cooling gel, but it just matches that atmosphere, and then it all kind of shifts in camera or in post, and it looks great. So
that's awesome. We should probably, one of these days, if you guys are ever out shooting, you guys should do one with the half CTB and then one without. And share it like in the community or even with me, and I'll be happy to share it. It'd be interesting to show people how something like that can make, just being able to shoot it and warm it up in camera versus not. It makes such a huge difference. I love it. So.
Okay. Yeah, definitely.
Good stuff, you guys. Tell us about this one. I love this shot too.
Thanks. So this couple, they actually had their wedding in the mountains earlier that day, but this is a reception space. It was like a little restaurant, and they had this wine room. And the wine room, believe it or not, was not that big. It was pretty tiny. And they wanted to do something cool in this room. So we did a few different types of shots, like leading lines and stuff. But then we're like, we love red. Like red makes couples pop. It's very attractive to eyes. So we had them hold a flash behind them with a sphere and a red gel. And then we front lit them with a sphere grid. Sorry, our dogs are talking. A sphere grid combo with a half CTB to warm them up a little bit after. So that we really thought about in the front light. We were worried about the spillage on the back to where the red wouldn't show as well. So that's why we use the grid sphere combo to keep the light tighter on them. And then that way that red popped behind them. So.
Nice. I think the dogs just want to be on camera.
Apparently. Sorry about
I
that.
can grab them if you want. Sorry.
You're totally fine. I love it. I love it. So now going back to the shot then, so you had this sphere grid combo, and it looks like, was it camera right, a little bit high? I'm just looking at the shadows, primarily her arm and maybe her little bit nose. Is that it almost looks like she was looking right at the flash, like it was to the right just a little bit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. And we just kind of did the top-down lighting, so we had the light right over them so that the distance wasn't too great and weren't getting too much spill. But they were down to do some fun shots there because the room, I don't know if Jenny mentioned it, it was super small and super tight. Yeah. So like me in there, it was like this balancing act of trying to not knock over wine bottles and also light the couple. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what do you think as far as lens-wise? Do you remember what you used here? Was it a 24-70 or?
28-70, yep.
28-70, nice.
That thing never leaves Jenny's camera.
That's a beast of a lens, right? Isn't that the beast?
It's heavy, but it is amazing. And for wedding days and portrait sessions, everything. It's just a very great lens. And I love that it goes down to f2. And
it's sharp.
Yes. So
that's awesome.
I was always a prime guy. I would always go like 35-50 or 85 or 105 for that matter. And she got that lens, and she let me use it a couple times, and I was like,
"We got him one."
I'm a zoom lens guy now.
That's awesome. So who shoots more and who holds the light more?
Well, it's a mix, but I will say Joe's a better light holder because I'm 4'10" and I never get the angle right. So I would have to hold like it so high. So Joe likes to do that, and I'm very clumsy too. So if I have to walk or stand on an edge or like a cliff, it wouldn't be a good idea.
Yes.
Which that's kind of a prelude of what we're going to be, our segue maybe, of what we're going to be talking about here soon. Because you have one of these shots where I'm just like, oh my goodness, like it is insane. Some of the places that you guys are visiting and doing photographs at. So real quick, you said 4'10". So Joe, how tall are you then?
6'6". I'm just kidding. I'm 5'9", barely.
Not tall, but taller than me.
You know what's interesting? Joe, every time I saw you guys together, I was like, man, Joe is a tall dude. But 5'9" is pretty, that's about average, right? Like
perspective.
Yeah.
Ratio.
Yeah.
I love it.
I make everybody look tall.
On that note, though, there is one shot where Jenny usually does hold the flash for me, and we'll do a fair amount of like group shot composites, like throughout, like not every wedding, but if
a lot of groomsmen photos.
Yeah,
and stuff.
And so oftentimes she's doing with the bride, and I'm with the groom, and I'm setting up the shot. I set it on tripod, and basically I call her and I'm like, "Hey, I need you for 2 minutes. I already got the settings dialed in," and she'll come, just hold the light, and then done. So,
or I'm good at hiding behind people with a flash. So instead of using a stand and a flash behind somebody, I will crouch down and be a little nugget behind them.
A little nugget. I love it. That's funny. So you mentioned about the and again, sometimes when I hear you guys say things, and then I think, like back to when I shoot weddings. In fact, even just this weekend, sometimes even just communicating is hard. Like to get to your second shooter, like whether it be text or phone call. Do you use any kind of communication device, or do you just typically just call them up on the phone? Is that what you do?
Joe doesn't answer his phone, so I usually have to go.
I'm busy shooting.
He has it on silent, not vibrate. But anyways, we usually just text each other, call each other. It's kind of hard, those venues we are. There's no signal. So we just have to go find each other, and we'll communicate that way. But we know each other's flow pretty good. We kind of make a game plan before wedding day of like, hey, I'm going to go ahead and do the groomsmen first while you do the bridesmaids, second or something like that. That way we don't have to cross paths too much, or if one of us is using a certain type of light and we want to use it after, we'll just say, hey, just keep those out there. We're going to use those next. So a lot about game planning and knowing each other's flow, which I feel like we got pretty down pat.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, it's one of those things where honestly it's like just even communicating. That's why when you said that, Joe, and you're like, oh yeah, and then I call her up and I'm like, that's amazing that she answered her phone, because
sometimes
I got an iWatch, so it tells me when he calls.
I'm so used to putting my Apple Watch on like the theater mode or whatever, because I hate to get notified all the time. And so I'll go out and shoot weddings, and the wedding coordinator would be like, hey, I've been trying to text you. And I'm like, oh, crap, I'm so sorry. And I'll put it.
I've had that.
I do that all the time. I'm like, I'm following your timeline. Trust me, it's okay.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly it. I think sometimes they get a little bit excited, like, hey, I haven't heard from you, and we're 10 minutes out. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'll be there. Don't worry.
Yeah, I promise.
I tend to do the thing where I'll see him calling, and I'll do like the nose touch, and I'll talk to him. Like, so.
Taking a photo. Hold on.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So speaking of photo, guys, this next shot, you guys actually have this on the front of your website, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Such a beautiful shot. Tell us about this one here.
Thanks, man. I took this one, so I did not have Jenny hold the flash. I just set it up probably 3 or 4 feet from the couple, so just out of frame.
On the right, yeah.
And we used the MagBox with the focus diffuser and the half CTB as well to sort of match that atmosphere and keep it all nice and even tone and warm. The light was getting really soft, as you can see in the background. Like, it's just like beautiful and perfect and what we all want. And so we take that into consideration when picking a modifier too. Like if we have soft light, we like to match it with a soft modifier. So we went with the box here. We thought it was the best choice. And we also, this technique some people are familiar with, we learned it through MagMod. So thanks to the community, but it's called feathering, where most of the time you see the box, it's like facing somewhat down towards the couple. We actually face up towards the sky so that you're just catching just a little bit of that spill, and it's an even softer light. You don't get as much power that way, is the only drawback, but we didn't need a whole lot here. So it ended up just being like one of those shots where we were like, oh man. And we loved the way it turned out. So
that's awesome. So it was a 24-hour softbox, the Octabox, right? And then focus diffuser. And then you had it pointed almost just kind of like above their heads, sort of like pointed kind of, so it feathered down a little bit.
Kind of our rule of thumb, at least how we've learned it a few times, and for what we've seen from other people, is try to get wherever the bottom of the box would be. That would be aimed sort of at the top of their head. So by the time it spills, you're just getting a little bit. So not the best technique for full day sun, but when you got like golden hour or sunset and you're just getting that color in the sky, it's just a touch of light and it's really nice. So
it's a beautiful shot. I love it. Is there anything in particular because I know people use prompts and stuff. Is there anything that you do to get this prompt here or to get this pose, or do you just typically just kind of guide them into it?
Both. Being a husband and wife team, 90% of the time we'll just demo, but go ahead.
I usually say
Sorry.
we have two different ways. People, it's kind of funny. So sorry, but some people will be like, "So you're gonna wrap over her arms and grab her boobs," and the guys laugh. It's awesome because I was like, you don't want to go around her tummy because that speaks maternity. We don't want that. So yeah, it's fun. So we always tell them that. But the serious emotion there, we kind of, most of the couples, we just tell them to breathe in, breathe out, and like think about like 30 years from now together or something like that. But we do get a lot of candids and fun moments just because of our personalities, and we do like to use prompts, and it helps the couple feel a lot more comfortable and get that genuine emotion. But we like these two.
I will say too, this couple, like, it's one of those couples
good.
that you dream of. Like, they were super sweet, super nice, and like every time we were in the middle of telling them what to do, they were already kind of doing it, and we were like, "You're doing that."
So that's the best. When they do that, it gives you so many more opportunities to just take photos, right? And like just to get doing it. It's so cool. That's awesome. Good stuff, you guys.
Thanks,
all right, and then the last one, and this is the one that I think we've already kind of segued into it a little bit, which was the talking about the crazy kind of these insane environments that you guys find that I just love seeing your photos from. So tell us. This makes my I have to like take a deep breath here because I'm just like, holy smokes.
Yeah.
And I've seen the video on this shot, by the way, Joe, and I think it was you, Joe, right? We're on the edge over there.
Yeah. Thankfully, I don't have too much of a fear of heights, but like we said, I usually put myself in this position for these shots because Jenny has a bad ankle, and I'm like, I think someone said it's literally like 1,000 vertical feet straight down at Taft Point. So you go ahead, babe. I know Jenny shot it, I lit it, but
I'm sorry. Yeah. But yeah, it's Taft Point. We did an all-day elopement with this couple in Yosemite, and we knew we wanted to finish at Taft Point because we had seen so many images from people taking, other photographers taking shots here, and we're like, man, I want to do it, but I kind of want to make it better. So we were like, let's use off-camera flashers, see what we can do, because the biggest issue would be is the distance away from each other. I was shooting across like a kind of like a canyon, and from the lookout point. So I used a 105 for this, and what I got was, we pretty much were talking on the phone, believe it or not. We were able to get some signal, and I was just telling Joe, hey, I'm ready to shoot this, put them in this, put them in this pose. And then I kept trying, and it did go off. The trigger was going off. But we used a sphere and a half CTV. We just wanted, the sky was actually already really nice. It was starting to get really warm, but we just wanted to emphasize it even more. And then we just wanted the couple to pop using the flash. We could have done the shot easily without a flash, but I just feel like it makes them pop from the background. And Joe was to the left of them on the cliff with them. But easy edit.
Yeah.
It absolutely makes them pop, but it again, it's going back to what I was saying earlier. You get this kind of look where it almost, for those who aren't trained as photographers, and especially with flash, they wouldn't even understand that a flash was used. They would just think that there was, light coming from the left, like there's two suns or something exists, right? But the fact that you get this beautiful light on them, but then it almost looks like this was probably 5 minutes before sunset, maybe 10 minutes before sunset, would you say?
Yeah.
Roughly.
Yeah, the sun was right there on the edge. So it was creating it created a nice rim light on her veil and stuff.
Yeah.
So it was really pretty. Yeah. We took a few after too, but
what about I've never been to this place in Yosemite. I've been to Yosemite, but I've never actually been here. I went there years ago, but I need to get back. But was there a lot of people here? Did you only have like a few minutes to go out there and take the photos, or how is it?
So Jenny stayed at the observation deck, and I went all the way to the cliff with the couple, and we were expecting there to be a fair amount of people because it's one of the popular spots in Yosemite. And we got there, and there was already 2 sessions sort of going on, but they were, natural light photographers, and they were just finishing up, and they were like, you can go and we can rotate. And I was like, how about this? You guys take all the time you need. And we'll take like the last 5 minutes of like daylight. And they're like, are you sure?
That's what
absolutely
we want.
That's what we want. So it worked out. I was expecting it to be like 15 or 20 people up there, but it was really only like those 2 sessions and then a few people just watching the sunset. So we lucked out.
We made it. We always try to make things as quick as possible in like these like national parks and stuff because we don't want to interrupt people's experience necessarily. So we already go in with a game plan, like we talked about before he went over there. Like, hey, this is what we're gonna do. This is what post we're gonna do. Yeah, that way we don't have to take 20 minutes on the cliff, and nobody wants to spend 20 minutes on a cliff anyways.
I told the bride, I was looking over my shoulder. I was like, you got to come look at this. She goes, Joe, funny enough, you're fired. I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah, that's insane. Well, again, it is just such a beautiful shot. And so, Joe, can you, based on this, I know it might be hard, but where would you say you were standing? Because I see there's like that big step down, right? Were you on the platform with them?
Yeah, I was on that little bit of a step down, and I was to the left of them. So this was, for the record, this was, I want to say 2021. So before we had AI, easy removal, and before we had like subject select, so we could just hit the couple and make them brighter or anything like that. So we knew we had to get it perfect in camera. And I asked Jenny, I was like, am I in their way? Because I knew she couldn't edit me out if I was in their way. So it was literally just.
It is dangerous, but. What we always do too, we always ask the couples, we're like, guys, if you do not feel comfortable with this, do not do it. Like we are very, because I know some people are like, oh my God, you could have killed them. But we always do that with our couples. We always are very like, take your time, be slow. Like, and Joe is too, same thing with, holding the flash, but we would never do something we were uncomfortable with. I know it sucks, but these beautiful shots come at a risk like this. But
it's insane though, you guys. That shot for reals. That's like, I mean, that could be a piece of artwork in anyone's house, but especially the couple, that you took the photo. I imagine anyone walking into their house. Not only is it a beautiful piece of artwork, but it's also a great piece of marketing because everybody that walks in their house looks at it and says, "Holy crap! Like, tell us about the shot." Who took this picture? Like, who are these photographers? So that's insane. Beautiful stuff.
The only negative thing about that image is, we've had it on both of our portfolios. It's just on our out west portfolio now, but it's Yosemite. So whether somebody's looking at the Blue Ridge Mountains or looking at the Grand Tetons, they're like,
where is that?
Can we go there? And it's well, if we fly to California, absolutely. So.
No, that's true. Now, but I've seen, and again, I want to encourage people, go check out their video because in your video, you guys have some really cool, like other cliff areas that you guys have shot at. Is that near you near Asheville, or where is that at? You know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah. So that video for Asheville, that's in Asheville. It's about an hour and a half outside of it, but it feels like another planet, really. Like we tell people, it's like the Grand Canyon of the Western North Carolina, just because it's a different look.
Yeah.
Everybody likes to go there, but it is a good hike. It is you definitely can't be out of shape for that one.
No.
But so we aren't afraid of cliffs. And it's funny because everybody wants cliffs until they realize how high up it is. And they're like, maybe not.
I don't know if you've ever ran into that, but like we've had couples at least once that I can recall. It was pretty serious. She didn't tell us she had a fear of heights. And when she picked the spot that had the high cliff, we were like, well, she'll be fine. And she picked it. She froze up, so we actually had to help her get down. So now everybody, we ask, do you have any experience at elevation? Are you scared of heights? All those things. So we just try to be safety first as much as it probably doesn't look like it. But
Well, going back to the shot, though, what's interesting about this is and I don't know if this was the environment here, but sometimes it looks to us like it's this little tiny strip, with like 3 feet of space to walk on. But then when you actually get there, there's like 15 feet or, a lot longer than what our cameras tend to show. And I don't know Taft Point. I don't know this specific area, but sometimes that's the case. So I don't know, I don't know if that's what it was here, but.
That's how it was. And when I was holding the light, like even though I was down on that little, step down,
tiny,
I was leaning forward because I'm like, heaven forbid the wind blows or I slip, I'll fall onto the platform. The platform is probably 12 or 15 feet wide, so plenty of room to stand. Yeah.
I guess this would not be a place where you want to use an umbrella, right? Like,
or even like honestly, like a softbox at this situation, it would be pretty. Yeah. But we just knew with where we are,
windy.
It's not safe. So it would act like a kite, and we'd go off with it. So
yeah, and that's with our adventure sessions and stuff. We use a lot of the spear grid combo just because you can throw an 8200 and a spear in your backpack and hand hold it. You don't have to necessarily take a whole bunch of equipment. So
yeah. Where did I see the video of you guys shooting this? Was it on your Instagram account?
Maybe like a
or maybe it wasn't a video. Maybe it was just a behind the scenes shot. Maybe it was the unedited shot is what I saw. But I know I saw a shot with Joe. I saw you on that little platform there.
Yeah. I think we shared it in the community one time, and everybody was like, "Yeah, no," but it was good.
That's awesome. Well, guys, what a pleasure it's been to chat with you. I hope we get a chance to meet up. In fact, I know you guys actually live pretty close to where my family's from, like up in the Wyoming area. So one of these days I'll have to meet you up there when I travel up to go visit, do some family history. And so
I love that, brother.
Yes.
It would be a pleasure to meet you guys. But thank you so much for spending this time with us and sharing these incredible photographs that you shared. And I think the biggest thing that I took away from this is the power of the MagSphere and the half CTB. Like that combination, it sounds like that's one of your big go-tos, and be able to get these nice warm, environments and shots, and it feels like just a warm chocolate chip cookie. Just good all over. I just love it. So
good vibes.
Good vibes, exactly. So I appreciate you guys, and thanks for joining me today.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So, guys, if you are watching How I Shot It for the first time, be sure to subscribe to the MagMod channel, give it a like, comment below. I bet Jenny and Joe would be happy to answer any questions you have in the comments. Those and so be sure to give us a comment, and of course, like I said, look forward to these future How I Shot It episodes where I get to bring in some of the world's best photographers and chat with them about some of their awesome photos. So thanks again, Jenny and Joe. Appreciate you guys, and we'll catch you next one. All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Trevor.